I thought it was just another family dinner. My son Dylan texted me to come to my sister Patricia's house right away. I figured maybe they were planning a surprise, or Laura wanted to talk about our anniversary coming up. I walked in with a smile, expecting warmth. Instead, I found my entire family sitting in the living room like a jury. My wife, Laura, my 16-year-old son Dylan, my 13-year-old daughter Mia, my sister Patricia, and a man I had never seen before. The air felt thick, cold. Dylan stood up, and the way he looked at me, it was like I was a stranger. Then he said the words that would shatter everything I thought I knew. Before I continue, I want to know where you are watching from. Drop your location in the comments below. If this story hits home, if you have ever felt betrayed by the people you love most, hit that like button, so I know I am not alone in this. And please subscribe, because what happens next will show you how a man can lose everything in one night, and then discover a strength he never knew he had. Now let me take you back to that moment when my world fell apart. Dylan looked at me with eyes that held no warmth, no recognition of the father who had raised him, and said, "Dad, your time is over. Mom is happier with him now." I stood there frozen. My brain could not process the words. The man next to Laura stood up tall, confident with a smirk that made my stomach turn. He extended his hand like we were meeting at a business conference. "I am Kevin," he said, "Laura's colleague." I did not shake his hand. I just stared at my wife, waiting for her to say something, anything that would make this make sense. She would not look at me. She kept her eyes on the floor and whispered, "I am sorry, Arturo. This is how it has to be." Mia was crying silently in the corner, her small hands covering her face. I wanted to go to her to hold her, but Patricia stepped between us. "Arturo," my sister said, her voice sharp, "you need to accept this. Laura deserves to be happy." Happy. The word echoed in my head. I worked 60-hour weeks to make sure Laura and the kids had everything they needed. I missed soccer games, school plays, date nights, all so we could have a future. And now I was being told I was the problem. I looked at Dylan, my boy, the kid I taught to ride a bike, to throw a baseball, and I asked him, "What are you talking about? I am your father." He shrugged, cold and distant. "A father who is never home. Kevin has been here for us more than you ever were." Those words cut deeper than anything Laura could have said. I felt my chest tighten like I could not breathe. I started thinking back to the past 6 months. I had taken a new job, a promotion that paid almost double my old salary. It meant more travel, longer hours, but I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was building something for us. Laura started pulling away around that time. She stopped asking about my day. She stopped waiting up for me when I got home late. I noticed she was on her phone more, laughing at messages, but when I asked who she was talking to, she always said it was just work. I trusted her. I had no reason not to. There was one night I came home early, maybe 3 months ago. I walked into the kitchen and heard her laughing on the phone in the next room. The moment she saw me, she hung up fast, her face flushed. I asked her who it was, and she said, "Just a colleague, nothing important." I let it go. I should not have. Dylan had changed too. He used to wait for me by the door when I got home, excited to tell me about his day. But over the past few months, he barely acknowledged me. He would grunt a hello and disappear into his room. I thought it was just teenage stuff. Mia was the only one who still hugged me, but even she seemed scared, like she was walking on eggshells whenever Laura and I were in the same room. I was blind. I missed all the signs because I was too busy trying to provide. And now, standing in my sister's living room, I realized I had lost my family without even knowing it. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Son, what are you talking about? I am your father." Dylan crossed his arms and looked at me like I was pathetic. "A father who is never home. Kevin has been here for us more than you ever were." I felt like I had been stabbed. I looked at Mia, hoping she would say something, anything, but she just kept her head down, tears streaming down her cheeks. Patricia stepped closer to me, her voice softer now, but still firm. Laura told me everything, Arturo. How lonely she has been. How you prioritized work over family. You did this to yourself. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell them all that I was doing it for them, that every hour I spent away was an hour spent securing their future. But no one was listening. Laura finally looked up at me. Her eyes were red, but there was something else there too. Relief. She reached into her purse and pulled out a thick stack of papers. "These are divorce papers," she said quietly. "I want the house. I want full custody of the kids. And I want spousal support." Kevin put his hand on her shoulder, a gesture that made my blood boil. "We have already discussed this, Arturo," Kevin said, his voice smooth and practiced. "It is better for everyone if you just sign and move on." I looked at Laura, at Dylan, at Mia, at Patricia. I looked at all of them and asked one question. "Is this what you all want? You want me gone?" Dylan nodded without hesitation. "Yes, we have already decided." That was it. That was the moment I knew I had lost. I did not yell. I did not beg. I just looked at Laura one last time, then turned and walked out the door. I did not say a word. The first week after that night was a blur. I checked into a cheap motel on the edge of town, the kind of place where you pay by the week, and no one asked questions. The room smelled like cigarettes and bleach. I sat on the bed and stared at my phone, scrolling through pictures of my family. There was one from last Christmas, all of us smiling in front of the tree. Dylan had his arm around me. Mia was laughing. Laura looked happy. I wondered when it all changed. I tried calling Dylan every day. He never answered. I called Mia, and she would pick up sometimes, but she would only talk for a minute or two before saying she had to go. Her voice was small, scared. I wanted to tell her it was okay, that I was not mad at her, but she would hang up before I could get the words out. I tried to see them at school. I waited outside Dylan's high school one afternoon, just hoping to talk to him for a few minutes. But when he saw me, he turned around and walked the other way. A security guard approached me and told me I needed to leave. Apparently, Laura had informed the school that I was not allowed near the kids. I felt like a criminal. My coworkers started noticing something was wrong. I was making mistakes, missing meetings, showing up late. My boss pulled me aside and asked if everything was okay at home. I lied and said it was fine. At night, I could not sleep. I would lie in that motel bed and replay Dylan's words over and over. "Your time is over." I kept thinking, how did I become the villain in my own life? After 2 weeks of wallowing, something inside me snapped. I could not just sit there and let this happen. I needed answers. I needed to know who Kevin really was. I hired a private investigator, a guy named Marcus, who came recommended by a friend. I gave him everything I knew about Kevin, his full name, where he worked, his social media. Marcus told me it would take a week or two. While I waited, I kept trying to reach out to my family. I sent Laura an email asking her to reconsider, asking her if we could at least talk. She did not respond. I wrote Dylan a letter, a real handwritten letter, telling him how much I loved him, how proud I was of the young man he was becoming. I poured my heart into that letter. 2 days later, it came back in the mail with a note scrawled on the envelope. "Stop trying. We do not need you." I tried one more time with Patricia. I showed up at her house unannounced. She opened the door, and before I could even speak, she said, "Arturo, you need to let this go. You made your choice when you chose work over family. Now live with it." She closed the door in my face. I stood there on her porch, feeling more alone than I ever had in my life. That night, I sat in my motel room with a bottle of whiskey. I am not a drinker, but I needed something to numb the pain. I thought about leaving, about moving to another state, starting over where no one knew me. But then I looked at a photo on my phone, a picture of Mia on her 8th birthday. She was wearing a princess dress and I was holding her on my shoulders. She looked so happy. I realized that if I gave up now, if I walked away, I would lose her forever. And I could not let that happen. Marcus called me 2 weeks later. What he told me changed everything. Kevin was not who he pretended to be. He had been divorced 2 years earlier, and the reason was infidelity. He had cheated on his wife multiple times, but it got worse. Marcus found records of a sexual harassment complaint filed against Kevin at his previous job. There was not enough evidence to prosecute, but 3 different women had come forward with similar stories. Kevin had a pattern. He targeted women who were vulnerable, who were lonely, and he manipulated them. Marcus also found text messages between Kevin and a friend. In the messages, Kevin bragged about Laura. He said, "She is easy. Her husband is never around. I will have her in the house in no time." Reading those words made me sick, but it also made me angry, not just at Kevin, but at myself. I had left Laura alone. I had given Kevin the opportunity to slither into my family. Marcus dug deeper. He found out that Kevin and Laura had been seeing each other for 8 months, not 6, like Laura had told me. Kevin had been in my house around my kids for almost a year. And the worst part, Marcus discovered that Kevin was still in contact with his ex-wife. In messages from just a week ago, Kevin told her, "I will be back soon. Just need to finish this thing with Laura first." He was planning to leave her. He was using her to get money, to get a place to live, and then he was going to disappear. I felt a surge of something I had not felt in weeks, not sadness, not despair, anger. Pure, focused anger. But more than that, I felt fear. Fear for my kids. If Kevin was capable of this, what else was he capable of? I made a decision. I was not going to send another email or write another letter. I was going to face them all in person with the truth. I contacted a lawyer, the best one in the city. Her name was Angela, and she had a reputation for winning impossible cases. I showed her everything Marcus had found. She looked through the evidence, her expression getting more serious with each page. When she finished, she looked up at me and said, "You have a strong case, but you need more evidence that Kevin is a danger to your children." I told her I would get it. For the next 2 weeks, I followed Kevin. I am not proud of it, but I had no choice. I watched him from a distance, noting where he went, who he met. And then one night, I got what I needed. Kevin met a friend at a bar downtown. I sat in a corner booth far enough away that they did not notice me, but close enough to hear. Kevin was drunk, bragging loudly. He said, "Laura is paying for everything. Once I get my name on the house, I am out. Dylan is a useful idiot. Kid does whatever I tell him." My stomach turned. Kevin went on, "I promised the kid some cash if he convinces Laura to put my name on the deed. Easy money." I recorded the entire conversation on my phone. When I got back to my motel, I listened to it 3 times, making sure it was clear. Then I sent it to Angela. Angela worked fast. Within 3 days, she had everything ready. She arranged a meeting, a mandatory family meeting at her office. Laura tried to refuse at first, but Angela made it clear that if she did not show up, there would be a subpoena. The meeting was set for a Friday afternoon. I did not sleep the night before. I went over everything in my head, trying to prepare for every possible reaction. When I arrived at Angela's office, everyone was already there. Laura sat next to Kevin, her arms crossed, looking annoyed. Dylan sat beside them, his expression hard. Mia was on the other side of the room, with Patricia looking scared. Angela started the meeting by explaining that we were there to discuss the terms of the divorce and custody. Then she said, "But before we proceed, there is some information that needs to be shared." She turned on a projector and played the video. It was Kevin at the bar talking to his friend. His voice came through loud and clear. "Laura is paying for everything. Once I get my name on the house, I am out. Dylan is a useful idiot. Kid does whatever I tell him. I promised him some cash if he convinces Laura to put my name on the deed. Easy money." The room went silent. Dylan's face went pale. Laura looked at Kevin, her mouth open in shock. "What is this?" she whispered. Kevin tried to laugh it off. "That is taken out of context," he said quickly. "I was just joking around." Angela clicked to the next slide. It showed text messages between Kevin and his ex-wife. Messages where Kevin said he would come back to her as soon as he was done with Laura. Messages where he called Laura naive and desperate. Laura started crying. Not the quiet tears from before. These were loud, choking sobs. "You said you loved me," she said to Kevin. He did not answer. He just sat there, his face red. Angela pulled up more documents. Kevin's history of harassment, his pattern of targeting vulnerable women, his previous relationships that ended in financial ruin for his partners. Dylan stood up, his hands shaking. "You said you cared about us," he said, his voice breaking. "You said you wanted to be part of our family." Kevin finally spoke, his tone defensive. "Look, kid, it is just business, nothing personal." Dylan looked like he had been slapped. He turned to me, tears streaming down his face. "Dad," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "I am so sorry." I wanted to go to him, but I stayed in my seat. This was not over yet. Laura turned to Kevin, her voice shaking with rage. "Get out. Get out of my life. Get away from my children." Kevin stood up, smirking. "Fine. Good luck explaining this to everyone." He walked out, slamming the door behind him. The room was silent for a long time. Finally, Patricia spoke. "Arturo, I owe you an apology. I was wrong about you." I nodded but said nothing. Angela continued the meeting, outlining a fair custody arrangement. Laura and I would share custody. The house would be sold, and we would split the proceeds. No one argued. After the meeting ended, everyone left quickly. I stayed behind to thank Angela. When I finally walked out to my car, I turned off my phone. I needed time alone, time to process everything. I drove back to the motel, sat on the bed, and just breathed. I did not feel victorious. I felt exhausted. But I also felt something else. Relief. The truth was out. My kids knew who Kevin really was. And maybe I could start rebuilding. The next morning, I turned on my phone. The screen lit up with notification after notification. 118 missed calls. 47 from Dylan, 39 from Laura, 21 from Mia, 11 from Patricia. There were dozens of text messages. "Dad, I am so sorry. Please call me back." "Arturo, I was wrong. Kevin is gone. Please, we need to talk." "Daddy, please come home. I miss you." I sat there staring at the screen, tears rolling down my face. For the first time in weeks, they were not tears of pain. They were tears of something else. Hope, maybe, or just exhaustion. I was not sure, but I knew one thing. I had fought for my family. I had stood up for the truth, and that mattered. I called Mia first. She picked up on the first ring. "Daddy?" Her voice was so small, so scared. "I am here, sweetheart," I said. She broke down crying. "I am so sorry, Daddy. I should have told you." I knew Kevin was mean. I heard him say bad things about you, but I was scared. My heart broke all over again. "You did nothing wrong, Mia. None of this is your fault. I love you so much." We talked for almost an hour. She told me how Kevin had made her uncomfortable, how he would say cruel things about me when Laura was not around, how Dylan had started acting different after Kevin showed up. She said she wanted to come stay with me. I told her we would work it out, that I was not going anywhere. Dylan was harder. I called him next, and when he answered, there was a long silence. Then he said, "I do not know what to say." I took a deep breath. You do not have to say anything right now, son. He started crying. He told me you did not care about us anymore. He said you were too focused on work to even notice we existed. He said if I helped him, he would make sure we were taken care of. He offered me $5,000, Dad. $5,000 to convince Mom to put his name on the house. I thought I was helping. I thought I was doing the right thing. I closed my eyes, trying to keep my voice steady. Dylan, you are 16 years old. You were manipulated by a grown man who knew exactly what he was doing. This is not your fault. He kept crying. But I said those things to you. I told you your time was over. I hurt you. I could not hold back anymore. I forgive you, Dylan. We will rebuild this son, one step at a time. Laura and I talked a few days later. We met at a coffee shop, Neutral Ground. She looked exhausted, her eyes red and swollen. I do not expect you to forgive me, she said quietly. But I need you to know that I never meant for it to go this far. I was lonely, Arturo. You were gone all the time and Kevin was there. He listened. He made me feel seen. I nodded. I understand. I was not there. I own that. But you should have talked to me, Laura. We could have worked on it. Wow. She looked down at her coffee. I know. I made a terrible mistake, and I almost destroyed our children in the process. We agreed that we could not go back to the way things were. Too much had happened, but we also agreed that we needed to put Dylan and Mia first. We worked out a custody arrangement that gave both of us equal time with the kids. We sold the house and split everything fairly. It was not easy, but it was civil. Patricia came to see me a week later. She stood at my door looking uncomfortable. I was wrong about you, Arturo. I judged you without knowing the full story. I am sorry. I let her in, and we talked for hours. She explained that Laura had been confiding in her for months, painting me as the villain. Patricia had believed her because she had only heard one side. I should have talked to you, she said. I should have given you a chance to explain. I told her I understood that family is complicated, and that I did not hold it against her. She hugged me, something she had not done in years, and said, "You are a good man, Arturo. I am proud of you." I moved into a small apartment across town. It was not much, but it was mine. Dylan and Mia started staying with me every other week. It was awkward at first. Dylan barely talked, and Mia was clingy, afraid I would disappear again. But slowly, we found our rhythm. I started coming home earlier. I turned down extra projects at work. I made it to Dylan's basketball games and Mia's dance recitals. I was present. And that made all the difference. One night, about 3 months after everything fell apart, Dylan and I were sitting on the couch watching a game. Out of nowhere, he said, "Dad, I am really sorry for what I said about your time being over." I looked at him. "I know, son, and I forgive you." He nodded, his eyes wet. "I am glad you did not give up on us." I put my arm around him. "I will never give up on you. Never." I learned a lot from this experience. I learned that work is important, but it cannot come at the cost of the people you love. I learned that presence matters more than presence. I learned that trust, once broken, takes a long time to rebuild. But most importantly, I learned that your time is never over, as long as you are willing to fight for what matters. My son once told me my time was over. But I realized something. Your time is only over when you stop fighting for what matters. And for me, what mattered most was standing up not just for myself, but for the truth. I fought for my kids. I fought for the chance to be their father again. And in the end, I won. Not because I destroyed anyone, but because I refused to let lies define me. So let me ask you, have you ever been in a situation where everyone turned against you, but you knew you were right? How did you handle it? Drop your answer in the comments. I would love to hear your story. And if this resonated with you, if you have ever felt betrayed, or had to fight for your family, hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel, because I will keep sharing stories that matter. Stories that remind us we are not alone in our struggles. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that even when everything falls apart, you can rebuild, you can stand up, and you can find your way back. Take care of yourselves and remember, your time is never over until you decide it is.